Our results show a decrease in good character or an increase in the bad character of students. Namely, number one, an attitude of independence. Independence is this matter in divided to two parts. Independence of thought. Online learning has an impact on the weak working ability of the brain. This is analyzing and solving problems. Because a student rely on Google to complete a segment given by the teacher. So that there is dependence on Google, which results in a loss of independent thinking. A respondent of this study were not only at the primary school level but up to the undergraduates and postgraduates level of uh, higher education. The independence of the first type is still somewhat better because the respondents are still working on their own in completing the assignments given by the teacher and lecturer. Well, independence of the second was type. Ah, I call it total loss independence. Why? Because in this type, student are no longer those those who do assessment for school, but are done by their parents for students at the elementary and middle school levels, while for students is made by brokers who they pay for. About 75% of respondents at primary school level have their tests done by their parents or close relatives. Next, lazy to study. Uh, this is due to the effect of the loss of an attitude of independence. Because their text always rely on answer from Google and then by other people. They make their lazy attitude to learn even greater. From several parents of students, lazy interviewed said their knowledge increases by doing assessment from school. So his parents increased the knowledge. Uh, the scripted character of honesty. There are two domino effects caused by the loss of the independent character of student, namely the scripted character of honesty and laziness to learn. So what about the student who are able to survive? They have the attitude of independent, uh, Hasniti and are studios. If to net out that this student experienced psychological pressure and expressive stress. Next, many students are depressed and stressed. This is because all given subject must collect assignment for X meeting. Another thing that makes them stressed is the unstable internet networking condition. In my research area, this Kabupaten Bone and Sinjai, approximately 60 percent sorry, are constrained by the internet network, so they use more WhatsApp media for learning interaction. Of course, is the very ineffective. Next, low motivation to learn. This happens because of the emergency of feelings of boredom, and boredom with the learning process online. Next, decreased social attitude. This is due to the lack of a direct interaction between student and teachers. Their social learning when they were in school suddenly disappeared. Next, decreased character of discipline. There are two things that cause decrease in discipline, namely the supervisory function of the school is not optimal and supervision for parents is lacking. In conclusion, there has been a decrease in good character and increase in the bad character of students. That is the other side of the virtual learning that is taking place in our research location, which uh, is very likely to occur in all parts of Indonesia. This actuality happened because of several things. Number one, infrastructure, uh, especially internet network facilities. Number two, the level of parental awareness is still low about character education. Number three, teacher low paradigm about the importance of uh, cultivating and cultivating the character development of students from an early age. The fact is that some teacher uh, in the learning process are still more dominant in maximizing the cognitive learning. The solution to this problem, namely equitable infrastructure, especially the internet network, handphone or laptop assistant for students, a free internet quota, uh, implementing education program for parents, because the responsibility for education does not only rest on the school. Synergy is needed between classmates and teachers in maximizing the role of education. Next, for areas where the internet network infrastructure does not support, it is necessary to establish a health protocol for direct face-to-face learning. Next, there is a need for virtual learning innovation that are able to minimize the distraction caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, as our research finding above. uh, Virtual learning innovation is important to accommodate the three components of character education put forward by Thomas Licona, moral knowledge, moral feeling, and moral action. Uh, took this international seminar, I would like to invite all ladies and gentlemen to reflect on the nature and meaning of education or learning that we haven't been doing so far. Ladies and gentlemen, in general education in this world is able to bring humans to the peak of civilization with increasingly sophisticated technology. Education has led humans to become the smart creators on the earth. However, as we all know that in fact education also brings calamity to humanity. A technology as a result of the creation of knowledge learned from school and campus is a tool for exploiting humanity, economic exploitation, law, politics, and others. Education and learning orientation is no longer a moral movement to make students become better self that benefit all beings. The orientation of education is the word is more dominated by the desire to control other to exploit natural resources to get as much money or wealth possible. In my opinion, especially in Indonesia, in Indonesia, education has not achieved the goal of educating the nation as mandated by the constitution. Our challenges in the world education are getting heavier with the COVID-19 pandemic, which has lasted for about 10 months. I net hic awareness less we education creates a millennial generation with iron mentality or create to student with machine characteristic. That is what I can say. Hopefully, it will be useful. Apologize for any short costumings. Good afternoon and peace. Greetings to all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much for Dr.
Okay.
It's ready for this mind-blowing presentation in terms of attitude changing from the students because of the pandemic condition. To all the audience, if you have a question regarding the presentation topic, it is the right time for you to give a question. Please. Dear audience, if you have a question, this is the time for you.
I want to ask a question.
Okay, yes, please.
Yeah, my question is for Mr. Hardianto Rahman. My question is how to build a character in pandemic. In pandemic, to how to teach and build a character. Yeah, just one. How to build character in pandemic, yeah, in teaching process. Yeah, it's all. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. For Dr. Ardianto Rahman,
Yes.
time's yours.
Speak Indonesian. uh, membangun karakter di era pandemi sebenarnya sesuai dengan artikel yang saya sampaikan tadi itu berat untuk dilakukan. Kenapa? Karena hakikat dari pendidikan sebenarnya tidak hubungan antara guru dengan peserta didik, antara teacher and students tidak bisa digantikan dengan siapapun termasuk dengan mesin. Jadi membangun karakter melalui proses pembelajaran daring secara virtual itu sangat-sangat tidak efektif. Itu menurut saya. Pembelajaran face to face saja itu masih sangat berat ketika tidak digunakan dengan menggunakan alat evaluasi yang betul-betul terukur. Karena membangun karakter adalah butuh sebuah proses. Makanya saya sampaikan tadi bahwa learning is a never-ending process to save one's values in order to become a human being that is useful for sentient beings. Thank you.
Yeah,
Next, moderator.
thank you, sir. Thank you for the answer, sir.
Okay. According to Mr. Dr. Haryanto Rahman, it's quite hard for us to create or build the characteristic of especially in virtual learning. Okay. According to Dr. Haryanto Rahman, it's quite hard for us to create or build the characteristic or the attitude of the students in this pandemic era, especially because we are using virtual learning or online learning. He said that in face-to-face learning, we still have so many trouble to, what can I say, to change the bad attitude of the student to be a better attitude. If we compare between face-to-face and virtual learning, it still have so many gaps between face-to-face and virtual learning. So it's quite hard for us to control the development of the characteristics of our students. So it's quite hard for us. However, we can still improve change the bad attitude of the student by creating innovative and creative assessment and learning instructions. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for the questioner. Someone who given us a question, and as well as for Dr. Hardianto Rahman for the very nice presentation. So from the presentation, we can conclude that there is a changing in the learning attitude of the students in this pandemic era due to the use of virtual or online learning. For example, the decrease of honesty, the cheating activities is anywhere because there is no someone who can evaluate or monitor the students' learning. So it's kind of a big problem for us. And the next is the laziness. All the problem is coming from the ability to be autonomous learner. When the student can be autonomous learner, all the kinds of problem probably can be decreased. But right now, the autonomous learning, the capability or ability of the students to learn autonomously is still low. So it's quite, really a big problem for us using virtual learning, especially when we talk about character of the students. Okay, that's the end for the first presentation. Let us move to the next or the second presentation that will be conducted or that will be shared by Mr. Amir Abbas. He is a Director Quality Enhancement Cell of University of South Asian Lahore, Pakistan. He will present to us a presentation under title Quality and Higher Education, a Strategic Fit. But before that, I would like to inform you a little bit about himself. He is a self-motivated quality assurance professional in higher education. He is also working as a teacher as well as a researcher, but the main job or the main activity of Mr. Amir Abbas is in quality development of educational institution. He was one of the experts working in improving the system and the quality of Pakistan educational system. Okay, Mr. Amir Abbas, are you in the room?
Yes, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Can you hear me, please?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you for your kind introduction about myself. As you have already mentioned that today's topic is quality and higher education, a strategic fit between quality and higher education. I am representing University of South Asia, Lahore, Pakistan as Director Quality Enhancement Cell. We call it QEC in Pakistan, this function. So this is the outline of my presentation. I will be discussing very briefly about the emerging trends, quality in higher education institutions, drivers of internal quality assurance, and some of the international quality standards. Given this brief time period, I will be able to discuss the salient points with respect to drivers of internal quality assurance in higher education institutions. And by higher education institutions, generally we mean the universities. QA means quality assurance. There is a difference between quality assurance and quality control. We already know that quality control is a product related thing, whereas quality assurance is a process related thing. So in higher education, in universities, schools or colleges, if quality is intended, then we need to go for quality assurance, means a process-based approach. For that process, our greater emphasis should be internal quality assurance on the encouragement of an institutional quality culture. Our institution, our top management of our higher education institutions should be quality conscious. They should support the commitment towards quality. Only then we will be able to ensure quality culture. No other effort, no other endeavor will ensure the inducement of quality in culture except the commitment by the ownership, the top management, the statutory bodies of the university or seat of higher learning. Also, greater use of explicit statements of requirements. For example, nowadays we are talking about qualification frameworks and subject benchmarks. Most of the international ranking institutions are using some subject benchmarks and standards. So if we are quality conscious, if we want to go for international rankings, then we must understand that these rankings, these standards are important for winning the confidence of our important stakeholders, that is students as well as parents of students, because they are the ultimate stakeholders, important stakeholders in a university, a relationship between university and a student. Now also, the greater focus on outputs is also intended. Greater focus on outputs means nowadays we are talking about outcome-based education, project-based learning. So all these things are outcome-based education endeavors. So direct is what a student has learned, indirect is where a graduate has gone. So not only we should be focusing on the final outcome, whether student was able to learn what was intended, and also the employability of the graduates. The breaking down of national boundaries is now important because hard or soft, or is hard or harder, in some countries, government involvement is also increasing. If government is supporting with right mindset, then the inducement of quality culture in the higher education sector and in the education sector, even at primary education level as well, will be easy to implement if government is supporting. If government mindset is on a supporting note, then we will be able to ensure successful quality culture. So these are some of the drivers, key levers for quality in higher education institutions. If we want to have internal quality assurance system process in place, then number one, we must have policy for quality assurance. That is the number one requirement. Then we must have design and approval programs mechanism. We should design our programs according to the industry, according to the latest trends, and we should also approve the programs so that the future of students should not be at stake. We should not admit students in the unapproved programs. There should be a system of designing and approval of programs. Then student-centered learning is important. All activities in a university or seat of higher learning should be student-centric. Even we are talking about teaching, we are talking about assessment, all these things should be student-centric, student-focused. Also outcome-based education, project-based learning. All these practices, all these modern pedagogies are intended for student support. For quality, we must have systems for student admission, student progression, student recognition, and student certification. If any link is missing out of these four, means we are not on right track. Our teaching staff should be adequately trained and must be competent, must be eligible to teach at a university level. Learning resources and student support services should be there. Information management, public information, ongoing monitoring and periodic review of programs is important, because once we internally assess our programs, this is called internal self-assessment or self-quality assurance. But eventually, the third party, the outside party, will also audit our programs and they will award accreditations on the basis of external quality assurance. And for ensuring internal quality, for smooth internal quality assurance and smooth external quality assurance, in order to get ourselves accredited, we must have ongoing monitoring and periodic review of programs. That is the rule of thumb, that is the key.